Alright, so if you clicked on this video, chances are you're trying to create a wedding film, or you're just curious. So, first of all, my name is Ben, and I'm a wedding filmmaker based out of Iowa, and I'm just going to hop right into it. Today I'm going to show you how I start my wedding films and how I create multicam sequences for my edits to make editing easier. Alright, so let's hop right into it. So, go into Premiere. So I have this project already created, and if I go into my folder, close out some of these windows. So here I have my SSD plugged into the computer. All right, so sometimes I'll put more than one project on an SSD, but this one is so large it's just by itself. So usually what I do is I'll create a project. Inside that project I have the couple's name. And then inside that project I have my music, footage, any finished videos I put in there. And then this is where I store the project. So when I go into Premiere, when I open up Premiere for the first time, I'll be like, new project. And then I'll name it that, and I'll hit browse. I'll go find my SSD, and I'll put the project file right there. Name it, and then hit OK. And then you get a blank one. Then I go and import. I'll create these folders: footage, sound effects, light leaks, and these right here I just import. So first what I'll do is I'll create a footage folder. I'll call it footage. And then in here I'll go and I'll be like import. I'll go to the footage and I'll like import all of the files that I want. Okay, and so then I'm gonna delete that because I don't want that. So yeah, I get the footage all in there, sound effects, light leaks, titles, and then I'll create a music one, create a music bin where I place my music. And then I also create a sequence bin. So after everything's in here, I go in and I start creating sequences. So I go sequence, I do a 4K sequence, which is just, I think if you go digital SLR, you can probably select like this one, but then go into settings and change. You can change whatever you want, but I just have presets made already. All right, so this one I'm going to call ceremony, and I'm actually going to increase that to 20 because this was a Catholic ceremony, and so there's a lot of video files since Canon thinks you have to stop recording after 30 minutes. All right, and then I'm also going to do a toast one. Same thing, but I think I'm also going to at least go to 15 maybe. And what I'm doing there is it's creating enough so that I can put all the clips onto one thing. Also create first look, sequence, and then I'll also create the film. So this one I just call teaser because I'm editing a teaser. The first look one I'm not terribly worried about quite yet, but I start with the ceremony. All right, so now that I have the ceremony, I go into my footage. So I'm gonna start with my main camera, which was actually the Ninja monitor. So now I go in. There's different methods to do this, but this is how I do this. I go in and I look for all of the ceremony clips. So this is the beginning of the ceremony. So I grab this, drag this to video 1, Now I had stopped it after the bride got up there and switched it to 24. So I put the next clip on the next layer up. And then I had switched it one last time so that I could, this was in 60 frames so that I could slow down the exit. So there's video 1, or there's like the first camera. Now I'm going to go to camera 2, which is probably, so this is what my second shooter will use, so it's probably further down there. So it looks like, so that's the first angle, or that's the first clip. This is the next clip. And then this is the last clip. Then I go to camera 3. Now there's less camera, because this one just sits on a tripod. So this is the one that my second, so this was us testing it, so it's not important. So this was the first recording. Now if you note, I'm putting these each on their own layer, and you'll understand later. Now go to cam 4. Cam 5. So this one actually had 4 clips. Chances are I probably won't even use this because this camera is in 1080. We'll see though. All right, and then one last one, which this is essentially one long recording from here to here. Yeah, from here to here is one long recording. So what I'm gonna do is I'm actually just gonna put one, and then the rest of them I can put on after, because they all go sequentially. All right, so then now that the video tracks are on there, now if you can see, I already have 18 video files. So I'm actually gonna have to get a little more space. Now I gotta put the audio on this. So I start with the bride, and what I'll do is I will first label them the groom ones, blue, officiant, which that one I didn't label properly, but that's the other officiant. Label these yellow. And this is the Dad First Look Toast handheld recorder, and then this is out of the mic receiver. So I first start by figuring out which bride audio is the ceremony.
And beyond. Yes! Yeah, BMW.
And I'm like,
So that's not it. So this is the ceremony here. And it actually looks like it probably gets cut off there, but I just need one for right now. So the bride, look at the groom first one, it looks like it's right here. So that's the groom one. these ones that are underscore D, this is just a lower version. So like this is the high version, and then this is just a little quieter version.
Should we wait a little bit longer? Let's put it in now, because then you can go get a seat and wait. Okay. Yeah.
Which I kind of actually, I think I prefer the quieter one there.
Made in China.
Not going to replace that later. I'm just going to keep the loud one for right now. Then I have to put the efficient one there, and then this is the second efficient one, which I'm kind of worried. So this is quiet, but I think it might still find it. So bridegroom, efficient, and then... So now that I have everything on its own layer, if we look at it larger, which I hit the, I don't even know what you call this, the button next to number 1 at the top of the keyboard, to the left of it, it'll show the whole thing. So there I have all my video files on the top, and then I'll hit Command A, select everything, right click, synchronize audio. I check the bottom one, and then audio track 1. I hit OK, and then you wait, and sometimes this can take a little while. Hey, look at that, it's sync everything. Okay, so see how everything kind of lines up? All right, so now what I do is I'll trim the audio first. So I go to the earliest track, and I'll go straight down and trim it. And then I move everything back to the front. I'll trim the back end of it too. And notice how the groom's audio is not all the way at the end. That's because that was the end of that track. So then what I'll do is I'll go in and find the second groom one, drag it on there. All right, so now what you have to do, which I'm gonna make this bigger again, I have to put each, so like this bottom layer should be camera 1, the second layer should be camera 2, third layer camera 3, camera 4, camera 5, and camera 6. So what I need to do is drag all the clips that are from the same camera onto the same line, and make sure I don't change the time frame. So like when I drag it straight down, which I actually think there's a new feature. If I go sequence, simplify sequence. This is in the newest one. Close the vertical gaps on video tracks. So then I hit simplify. Look, it flattens everything. And it's not, this is the one we made, but then this is simplified. So yeah, now that it's simplified, there's this. I remember I put this guy on here. And Now I need to go and put the other ones on there. So that one is 6. So then 5, I'm only going to drag the camera because I don't need the audio file. 4. 7. 8. 'Reason I have this angle is in case the bride and groom talk to each other. I can get the audio because they're both mic'd up. All right. So there, now I got all my cameras on there. All right, and I could clean this up, but I don't really care that much. I'm fine with just scrolling down there. Sometimes I do end up using some of the camera audio, but for right now, I'm fine just leaving the audio the way it is. Because most of the time what I do is I'll just solo these bottom tracks. But anyway, so the video files are like this now. Highlight everything. Right click. And I want to nest it. And I'm going to rename it Multicam Ceremony. Okay, so then once it's nested, we're not done. I have to right click, Multicam Enable. And so now there's this button right here, and if you don't have this button, you can hit plus and then just grab it and drag it into here. But now, if I hit this camera, this button here, it'll show you the different cameras here on the left. And then this is how I toggle my proxies, which makes editing a little faster. So like say I'm editing
of married life. And so, in the
let's say I want to
presence of this church, I ask you to state your intentions.
So it looks like this part right here might be the repeat after me. So I'll start with...
And his church. Well, all right, you can repeat after me.
So it starts with the groom. So I'll actually, let's say I start with this camera, and I'm going to use the number keys that are above the letters, and it'll correspond with, this is number 1 up here, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5, number 6. So as I'm editing, I can just hit these numbers, and you can see what happens.
I, Riley, take you, Courtney, to be my wife.
I, Riley, take you, Courtney, to be my wife.
I promise to be faithful to you in good times and in bad.
I promise to be faithful to you in good times and in bad.
In sickness and in health.
In sickness and in health.
To love you and honor you.
To love you and honor you.
All the days of my life.
All the days of my life.
Courtney, repeat after me. I, Courtney, take you, Riley, to be my husband.
I, Courtney, take you, Riley, to be my husband.
I promise to be faithful to you in good times and in bad.
I promise to be faithful to you in good times and in bad.
Okay, so now you see how it applied these cuts down here? Now, if I like copy these and move them over to like my teaser one, I can change them as long as... So like if I copy those two and I move them over here, I can still I can still change them. But if you turn off this and like you move this, then it doesn't work. So the multicam has to be is affected by whichever of these is selected. So like if I grab this and I move it up one layer, it's not going to work because you have the bottom one selected. So you have to select this next one up for it to actually work. But yeah, so that's the ceremony. Now I don't need this anymore. Now let's say I want to go in and color grade this. If I go back to my main thing, see how I have the multicam here? If I double click this, it'll open up all these video layers. And I can go in and individually color correct these clips and it'll apply to this multicam. Okay, so now toast, we have to do the same thing. So I start with my Ninja. I gotta find where the toasts are. Which it looks like this is cam 1. All right, and then I go to, I'm actually gonna skip to cam 3, which is probably, yeah, them. So cam 3. This is the second time that I did record. All right, and then camera 4 is probably them sitting there. I don't think I used a cam 5, but I need to go back and add camera 2. Because the camera 2 is like a parent angle. So this is another one. And that's another one. All right, so then now I go in and add toast. So here's the handheld one. And then here's the receiver one. And this one doesn't take quite as long because there's less files, but same thing. Go in, synchronize. All right, so if I make this wide again, you can see that did everything. So I'm gonna trim it. Trim it again. And you know what? I'm actually gonna,
He has accepted Riley for being a lunatic all these years.
I'm gonna add,
Yep.
I'm gonna add the bride and groom audio. And see if it'll sync.
You're Syrian? Carrie.
And we were literally like, oh,
That one, that one. You're Syrian?
All right, it doesn't sound like his audio recording went all the way there because I left it on all day. So I'm gonna sync that guy in there, see if it does sync. Sometimes after you've synchronized once, I'll have issues with it syncing again. The main thing with syncing is every video and audio needs to be on its own layer. Otherwise, it's not going to work. All right, looks like it did work. So I'm going to trim that. All right, so trim that. Move everything back to the beginning. And then I do the same thing. Sequence. Simplify sequence. All right, so I can trim the end of it. And I'm going to name it Multicam Toasts. Right click, nest, not nest. And then right click, Multicam, enable. And then it gives me the different angles. So I got this wide angle, this tight angle. So this wide angle, this tight angle, this angle of the couple, and then this angle of her parents. So, yeah, so I can get rid of this one and this one. So now whenever I'm dragging stuff, whenever I'm moving stuff, I just go from here and I'll get like a little piece of dialogue and then I'll move it to my teaser. I'll put it on this. I put all my like dialogue video clips on the bottom layer and then all my like B-roll and drone and stuff like that on the top layer. So then usually the way I start my teasers is I'll find some music, figure out how I want to start it. So I like this song. The song I already imported. I already found new. But I think I actually I don't want to start with I don't want to start with the chorus. I want to start with a verse. So it will, and I always put it a couple layers down so that I can put dialogue on the first couple layers. And I might actually move this down. If I do it without, so yeah, sometimes it's very finicky. So then I kind of figure out how I want to cut the song, and then that's how I decide where I'm going to place. Like, I know at the very beginning, I want to build up and then cut right into some dialogue, like Riley and Courtney. Can we all raise a glass to the new Mr. and Mrs. Riley and Courtney Steeren? And then I'll do like montage. So yeah, so that's kind of how I do that. And that whole process will probably be in another video. But yeah, so that's how I create the multicams that I use, because for wedding video, dialogue is the most important part of the video. So yeah. All right. Peace out. Until next time.